Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the prelim fights for UFC 240, Holloway versus Edgar. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight that I'll be predicting on the prelims and on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the heavyweight division, Tanner Boser versus Giacomo Lemos. So looking at this fight, I'm not really impressed by either man. Boser is, I think, the slightly shorter man at 6'1", 6'2", and Lemos is about 6'3". Boser is the younger man at 27, and Lemos is about 30. But Boser is the more experienced fighter. Looking at Lemos, you look at his record and look at his build, you would think he's just some powerhouse striker or a guy with like a lot of pop in his punches. Like you would see him like really turn his punches and put that power in there. It's just like whether it's hitting you or not, you just don't want to get touched by this guy. But it's like he has the size and he has the mass on him, but I don't think he really knows how to truly punch like he should be able to punch at that size. And looking at his skills, he looks very amateurish at the moment. But given the fact that he's only 6 fights or 7 fights into his career, that could change drastically. So that's what is more so is the biggest factor in this fight. But looking at Boser, the more experienced fighter, who's about 16-5 or something like that, the skills are there, the experience is there, but I'm not really seeing a whole rocket talent just yet. He's young at 27. That's for any division in the MMA, and especially the heavyweight division. So there's still a lot of time for him to grow, especially at heavyweight. So he can get better as well. But looking at this fight right now, it's like I'm not impressed with either man just yet. And looking at Lemos, if he was that power fighter that just had that one-punch knockout power or that one punch, well, everybody has one-punch knockout power, but he just doesn't have that pop. He doesn't know how to fully put his weight into his punches. He doesn't know how to put that shift on his punches, and I'm not liking that. And if he could even just do that, I would pick him over Boser. And he still is a good bet because it's not really like they're about 50-50 anyway. But I'm going to lean to the experience of Tanner Boser. I just don't really feel that Lemos knows how to fully use his size and use his build to really get things done in this fight. And it takes him a lot of punches, takes him a lot of volume, despite being as big as he is and as build as he is. He shouldn't even need to put that much volume into his punches to get a finish. And really, I think most times his fights can stop at like cuts or just accumulation more than this one big punch. And when it's just like all that accumulation, he needs all of that. I think Boss is just a cleaner striker. He's more accurate, more sharp, and definitely obviously more experienced by being out there more. I think over the course with his build and over the course of 3 rounds, I think Boser can outwork him, outlast him, and beat him to a decision. So in this fight, I got Tanner Boser via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the welterweight division, Eric Koch versus Cal Stewart. So look at this fight. This fight's in the welterweight division. Eric Koch is a veteran. Cal Stewart, he's not no new, but he's certainly a fresh blood in the UFC. Solid fighter. I'm not saying super talented. I'm not saying he's a bum. But he's like right in that entry-level skill set. He looks solid. Eric Koch is coming up from lightweight to welterweight. Was once a 145er, so he came up like 2 weight classes now. I don't think that wrestling or size or anything like that is going to be a huge big deal in this fight. I think Cal Stewart mixes in his wrestling that well. I don't think his wrestling or grappling is all that phenomenal. So I think it's really going to come down to who's more technical, who's more experienced, and the more technical, more experienced fighter is Eric Koch. I think Eric Koch is a much more technical striker. I think Eric Koch, being at lightweight and featherweight, 2 of the most technical divisions, going to come up and have a big edge on Cal Stewart. And I think he could beat him just about everywhere. I think he could beat him in the wrestling. I'm not even going to say he could beat him in the wrestling. He'll probably lose the wrestling, but I don't think Cal Stewart can have a big enough edge to be truly effective with his grappling in this fight. I think it'll be more so the speed, the technical ability of Koch, and the experience. I think he just, right now at this point, the more solid fighter. I think he just beats him to decision. So in this fight, I got Eric Koch via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the women's flyweight division, Jillian Robertson versus Sarah Frota. So looking at this fight, I think in Frota's last fight, I forget who she lost to last. I'm forgetting the name. Oh, Renata Souza. She lost to Renata Souza. Not Renato Souza. Livia Renata Souza. Not Renato. Not Jacare. But whatever. It's the woman named Livia Renata Souza. But yeah, she lost in that fight. Just more so to the experience of Renata Souza. Renata Souza was able to take her down when she needed to, control her on the ground. And I'm really going to get to the point. I think that Jillian Robertson can do much of the same. Sarah Frota is big. She's physically imposing. She's decently well-rounded, but she definitely has holes. She's kind of plodding. She's slower. But she's big and physical, but she's kind of slow. And you can take advantage of that with speed and technique. And I think Jillian Robertson will be the much faster fighter. I think she's the more technical grappler, the better wrestler between them. Maybe not overall. She overall is the better grappler than Frota. I think she could put her in similar places that Renata Souza put her in. And just wear on her, make her carry her weight, make her even slower than she already is with the grappling exchanges. Implementing those in, I think she can strike with her as well, but definitely going to mix in that grappling, control her, and win a decision. So in this fight, I got Jillian Robertson via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the flyweight division, Alexandre Pantoja versus Davison Figueiredo. So in this fight, Figueiredo was looking like the boogeyman of this division until he fought Jussier Formiga and looked kind of really meh. He didn't even look great in that fight. He looked terrible. Well, not terrible. He just didn't look good. He didn't look stellar. He didn't look like who he's supposed to be. Like he forgot who he was. And just by the mixing and the grappling, he really couldn't do much. On the feet, he really couldn't do much. And just lost a clear-cut decision. Now going against Pantoja. Pantoja is another fighter that has a lot of talent, a lot of potential. Certainly doesn't have the hype that Figueiredo once had or whatever had. But I think Pantoja is proven to be the more solid fighter between the two. Pantoja's been showing his grappling in a lot of his fights. He showed his grappling on the house, showed his grappling in his fights outside the UFC. So he's been showing his grappling. He's been showing his improvements in his striking. He's just been overall showing that he can take it, he can mix it up, beat you on the feet. He can mix it up, take it on the ground, and he can finish you on the ground. So he can finish you on the feet. He can finish you on the ground. He can make smart decisions in mid-fight to win decisions. So he's just showing to be the more proven fighter. Whereas Figueiredo is more so, I think when his debut fight, he got gifted the decision. It wasn't even so much something he did. It was more so the judges being terrible. In other fights, he's shown that, if he could finish the fight, he looks amazing. But when it's come to like crush time to really show that you really truly a star, and like he was supposed to in that last fight, he fell flat. I think Pantoja is just the more well-rounded fighter. I think on the feet, Figueiredo is going to have a slight advantage on the striking. He will have the power advantage. But I think Pantoja has the ability to mix the fight up. And I think he's been in those gritty decisions and he's been able to grind them out, find ways to win. Whereas Figueiredo, if he can't get that finish on you, he really hasn't shown to be much more than just a dangerous fighter. And when he needs to be a smart fighter. I think Pantoja has shown to be a smart fighter. He has that other avenue. He's a dangerous fighter and he's a smart fighter. And that ability to be smart is going to be the biggest factor in this fight. I think Pantoja will mix in the striking, mix in the grappling. And Figueiredo looked much more like a plank than a fighter off his back. He didn't really show any good, decent grappling ability in that last fight at all. So I think Pantoja is able to take him down, mix it up with him, and cause him a lot of grief, cause him a lot of struggle, get the points, get the control, get the mental edge. And I think Pantoja wins the decision. So in this fight, I got Alexandre Pantoja via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the featherweight division, Gavin Tucker versus Sing Woo Choi. So in this fight, Gavin Tucker, I think like a fight between more so well-rounded finisher type fighters. Well, Tucker's more of a decision type fighter. Woo Choi got a little bit more finishing ability. But I think Gavin Tucker is just the cleaner striker, the cleaner grappler. Cleaner grappler in the fight. I think he just beats him to a decision. I think it's going to be a competitive firefight. But I think the cleaner boxing technique of Gavin Tucker is going to allow him to land the cleaner strikes, allow him to control the fight, control the center of the ring, and win a gritty decision over Sung Woo Choi. So in this fight, I got Gavin Tucker via decision. Now to our co-prelim headliner we have in the featherweight division, Hakeem Dawodou versus Yoshinori Horie. So looking at this fight, you got two amazing strikers versus each other. But to get to the point, I just think Hakeem Dawodou is just a better striker in every single facet. There's one punch that he's open for, or one strike in particular that he's open for, that Horie might be able to exploit. And there's always maybe the ability to catch Dawodou. But as far as his pure striking technique, overall, I think Dawodou is just better in just about every area, except maybe one little hole he has in his game, or one hole that he definitely should fill, because it could be a very big thing. But as far as between these two, I think Dawodou is the faster fighter. He's a more technical striker. He has solid takedown defense, and he can defend Horie's takedowns. I think he just picks him apart on the feet. I don't think he stops, but I think he pretty much outpoints him, and it shows a different level of class in their striking between the two in this fight, and I think he gets the decision. So in this fight, I have Hakeem Dawodou via decision. Now on to our prelim headliner we have in the women's flyweight division, Alexis Davis versus Viviane Araujo. So Alexis Davis at one time was one of the bigger names in this division, but up at 135 she was. Not at 125, because she already came down to 125 when her career was already kind of on a downtrend and trying to revive her career. And she was looking like she was about to do that. Now she's looking more so like she's looking on her way out the door. So at this point, it's looking like Alexis Davis' career is coming to an end, or coming close to an end. She has never had the most amazing technical striking. She was effective at what she did with her striking. Never had head movement. Always was a solid grappler. But now she's looking kind of slow and just stiff and kind of just declining in a way. Now you look at Viviane Araujo coming off that amazing performance. Is looking like a straight monster, straight savage. She will be the shorter fighter, but she'll be the younger fighter. She'll be the fast fighter. She certainly is a much, much cleaner striker than Alexis Davis ever was. And I think she can hold her own more than hold her own in the grappling with Davis. I'm not saying she's a better grappler than Davis, but I think at this point she's just overall a much better fighter than Davis is right now. I think she can beat her to the punch like 4 times before Davis could even get one punch out there. She's a much fast fighter because at one point she was fighting at 115, so that explains the speed. So she's actually coming up. Matter of fact, I think she might actually even fought at 105. So she's came up several weight classes anyway, or at least one, if not 2. So she's gonna have that speed advantage. She's gonna have that technical advantage, and she's a much fresher fighter. I think she just picks the Davis apart on the feet, and I think she stops her in the second round. So in this fight, I got Viviane Araujo via second round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the prelims of UFC 240, Holloway versus Edgar. And as always, thanks for watching.